Have you ever seen a snail like this? Well, you will today in this video. So hey guys, my name is Bucket Ponds and I raise mutant bladder snails. Yeah, I love them so much, and today we're going to build a nice new aquarium for a particular bloodline. I'm using a 1-gallon pickle jar by Mount Olive, very inexpensive. For substrate, I'm using a handful of marble stone, also very inexpensive, available at Home Depot and Lowe's and places like that. The 1-gallon size is perfect for our project, and the substrate, the stone, will have the added benefit of buffering pH, preventing things from becoming too acidic, while also increasing surface area for beneficial bacteria. And now we're adding seasoned aquarium water from my fish tank, which will bring in that beneficial bacteria to start with. Next, we're going to add some plants to this project. And I am choosing plants from our contaminated bucket pond. Yeah, this particular pond has some type of pollution or contamination inside. I believe it is copper or zinc construction debris blown off my roof during Hurricane Helene and into the pond. But that's beside the point. What matters is that this material has caused some unusual changes in our bladder snails, and that's what we've been studying lately. So I am taking some hornwort out of here, and I was wondering if that contamination may affect the hornwort, but it's beautiful. It's vibrant and very strong, so I think it's doing fine. But I'm hoping that a number of hatchlings of baby bladder snails will be all over these plants, and they'll come into our new project as hitchhikers, intentionally. Bladder snails are famous for their ability to sneak into your aquarium and slowly take over. So we want to make use of that today. And I'll even be including this little piece of DIY driftwood that's been floating in their pond for a few months now. Now, there is a good chance that this material may be coated with the unknown mutagen. Again, it could be a chemical, it could be an element, I don't know. It could even be as simple as sunlight. Direct UV radiation can cause the mutations that we've seen. So who knows? We're learning, we're studying, and that's what that's what we do. So we are going to add these plants in this driftwood to our new build. And, every time I've tried to plant hornwort, it would always break off eventually and float around the tank anyway. So for this build, I was thinking I could do something different. Maybe I could wrap it around these sticks and cause it to sink, but also float at the same time. Does that make sense? To get the best of both worlds for the hornwort. But unfortunately, my stick is a little too light. Even two of them, they're just not heavy enough. So we'll just have to take what we can get. Remember, guys, when you're starting these projects, the build may not go according to your vision and to the idea that you have in mind, but don't be discouraged. You can always adjust your goal or your idea, So don't let it stop you if things don't work out the first time. But there we go. We have a pretty clean looking, interesting jar aquarium. I'm not ashamed of it. And I should mention, you guys, that this particular jar is actually very important to me. We've had this jar for 5 years. It was one of my first aquariums that I ever built. And I've had it quietly running off screen. It was very rough. But, just recently it did crash last year. And I cleaned it out. I peeled the old label off, and it feels good to use it again in a new project, to give it new life. Now, there is a little bit of filamentous algae in here mixed in with the hornwort. I'm not too worried about it. It's not going to hurt anything. It's sort of like a stringy, hair-like green stuff, and it's fine. That's growing in that pond outdoors, and it's to be expected. I'd like to build a specific jar for filamentous algae to grow a little forest of that stuff. I think it would be awesome. but that's a future goal. So here we have our project mostly assembled, and we're going to add an airstone in here, you guys. I know this is bucket ponds, and there's no lower tech than bucket ponds. We are the low tech that everyone talks about. But I'm going to go just a little bit into the future here and add an airstone. Yeah. Otherwise, this is a prehistoric aquarium with no equipment. But that airstone, it's not really for the snails. It's for the water itself to help things circulate, to move the water around, to prevent any kind of protein layer from really building up at the surface. Ultimately, having an air pump will just make the tank a little cleaner, a little nicer, you know? And that will benefit our bacteria and the other microfauna, which will most likely show up in here. Fun little thing, bladder snails can breathe air. So they will come up and get a breath, and they're not too worried about that. I am using a rubber band to hold the airstone in place mostly, just at the top of the jar there. And we're going to add a little bit more water to get the water level about where I want it. There we go. The snails will climb up out of here, up out of the water, so I don't want to give them too much room to climb up there and dry out. That's another thing that will help is that air pump will create little bubbles, and it will keep the top of the water there kind of splashing around, preventing the snails from hanging out at the surface and drying out, which does happen sometimes. So airstone's a good idea. And here we are. The jar looks pretty decent, you guys. That hornwort's really impressive. It's growing very well out there. It is getting direct sunlight. And again, I wonder, our mutations that we've seen could be caused simply by UV radiation. Solar radiation right onto the eggs of our snails could cause these interesting effects that we've seen. And speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and add the adults that we captured from the mutagen pond. 4 or 5 of them. And yeah, there they are. So immediately I noticed that these snails are pitch black. They're not purple or dark blue, they are black. And that's really cool. Yeah, immediately I want to call them midnight bladder snails. But I have this theory that bladder snails can change the color of their body over the course of their lifetime, based on their environment and the foods they eat. So I haven't been able to prove that theory just yet. But yes, you'll see a wide range of bladder snail colors, orange and blue and purple and gray and white. But these guys are pitch black, and I think that's really cool. If they can maintain this coloration in future generations, then I will be proven wrong, and we'll know that they can pass on the body color to their offspring. Now, I did build 3 1-quart breeder jars recently in a similar setup using, wild snails from the mutagen pond and 2 other bloodlines. Now, you might be wondering, why am I repeating this build? Well, it's because I had to scale up the experiment. 1 gallon is just such a huge improvement over 1 quart. And I might even add the adults from that particular jar experiment, since they are from the same pond. I don't want to complicate things, but yes, I'm making it complicated, apparently. But let's not worry about that right now. Our new bloodline of bladder snails were taken directly from the mutagen pond, and now my goal is to get them to breed in here for future generations. I want them to breed in here and to mix with each other over and over and over again until we start to see some of these interesting anomalies, these extra appendages and stuff, till we see them really take hold in the population. Once we see like every snail in here having an extra tentacle or something, we'll know that, we've done right. So for a lid on this project, I do have to have a lid. I have a problem with fly moths. It's hard to explain, it's a long story. But for a lid, I'm using some non-biodegradable screen mesh, cut into a little square, and I'm going to put a rubber band on top of it. It's finicky, I'm not going to lie. It's not fun to put this on and take it off of the jar. but it does allow air and light to flow freely into the project while preventing insects from getting in or snails from climbing out. This is the same roll of screen mesh that I've been using for like 6 years, you guys. That was a good investment. Yeah. Same stuff that we used in the pond ecosphere a while back. And yes, it is a pain. It's a pain to get it on there sometimes. But over time, the mesh will kind of take on the shape of the lid of the jar, and it becomes less of a hassle. So I will eventually figure out a better type of lid technology. Maybe you guys can help me. But yeah, here we go. I've adjusted the hornwort a little bit, and it does look better. I like it like this a lot. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the project so far, you guys. We have our adult snails in here of the new Bloodline. They came directly out of the mutagen pond, and who knows what we might find within them or their offspring. Now, in previous videos, this is when I would end it, and we'd go on to something else, and hopefully I would remember to come back and do an update for you guys. But we're not going to do that this time. I'm just going to keep the video rolling, and it's going to be kind of long. There we go. And yes, so our snails in here are quite large. They're not huge or abnormally large, but they are big. And I have a few hatchlings in here. We can see them as well. That's great. So we have a nice cross section of the population within that mutagen pond. We have some adults, some tiny hatchlings, and probably a few that we can't even see. And hey guys, we're back on day 3. Yeah. So I have added an extra light on here just for filming. It's not to help the plants grow. This hornwort does not need any help as it's already taking over the tank in less than 3 days. So yeah, I don't want to give it any extra light or anything. But it was getting kind of dark in the tank, so I needed this light for the video. Now everything's beautiful. It's very bright in here now, but it's very, very green and emerald green. It's very nice. And our snails are looking really good. Now I saw this guy here and I thought, wow, either he's really abnormal or he's injured. Oh my God, what did I do when I put this together? I must have hurt my snails. Yeah. But in fact, this bladder snail is laying eggs right now. That's right. This little midnight bladder snail is laying a batch of eggs. And I've never seen this in person or live, And I think it's just amazing. He looks kind of funny as he's doing it, and I think we ought to give him a minute because I don't want to disturb him. But yeah, that's really cool. He's laying eggs. We'll come back in just a second and check on his progress. Yeah, I don't want to mess him up in any way, shape, or form. That's really cool. Thank you, little buddy. All right, so looking lower in the tank, and his cousins, his siblings, they are down here doing snail stuff. They're very interested in that driftwood, which came from their own pond. So no doubt it's loaded with algae and probably bacteria. Now, these guys have not been receiving food from me at all. So for a few generations now, they've been eating algae. They've been eating whatever grew in their pond, and they've been sustaining a decent population. And here's our little friend, and you can even see the little eggs. Oh my God. Oh my God. I should have just kept the camera on him, but I didn't want to jinx it. Those are the first eggs being laid in our new aquarium that we know of. But that's so cool, man. The next generation is already established. Look at them. Oh my God. Now, our previous experiment did reveal that this exact bloodline of bladder snails, they seem to mature more quickly, meaning they seem to hatch and grow a little faster than their average cousins. This might be an advantage, or possibly like some type of accelerated evolution. When you cause a bunch of mutations in something, those that are not beneficial, they will cause the animal to, disappear, sadly. But those that do have some kind of advantage, that do offer an advantage, can stick with the individual and allow them to succeed. And if they are fertile, if they can pass on this mutation, then this can create a new species. This can allow their offspring to have an extra fin or whatever. It lets them do better than their competition. So who knows? I am looking for advantageous changes, even the midnight coloration. Maybe that might help you hide from predators. The pond they were in was also a black bucket, so that might kind of fit. If every other snail got eaten by a bird, but the one black one did not, then he would go on to have offspring and so on. And yeah, I'm babbling a little bit here, you guys. But I'm having fun. I'm so happy with this build. It feels so good to resurrect one of my old ancient jars. And that should show you that, you can spend $10 and have an aquarium for 5 years. And you get to eat the pickles that were in the jar. It's a win-win. And something really odd that I noticed. A jar full of pickles is cheaper than a jar of the same size that is empty. I don't understand. I don't get it. But yeah. Not always the case, but definitely on the few websites I looked at. And here we are on day 10. Yes, 10 days into the project, and our snails are in here derping around, doing what they like to do. And that makes me a happy guy. You can see some strange morphology in this individual, that black stripe. And that is a signifier of the mutagen pond population. But if you look at these 3 snails right here, they are all directly related. They are siblings or cousins, and they are all very different. I think that's really, really cool. They hold so much potential. And the jar itself, after 10 days, looking great. No cloudy water. It's a little darker if I light it from the top because of all that hornwort. That stuff grows quick. So I've had to light it from the back just so we can see what's going on inside the project. I will likely cut some of this hornwort out. I know it's only been 10 days, but it grows fast. And yeah, I'll likely pull some of this out of here soon. But I mainly want to look at the area above the water. That filamentous algae in here is being basically kicked up onto the glass by the action of the airstone. And more importantly, our snails seem to be eating that filamentous algae right there at the surface of the water. They're just munching on it. And that's so cool. It makes sense because that's the food source they've had since they've been born, is algae. And these guys seem very much inclined to eat algae, and especially more so than our other snails. And looking at this individual who's quite chunky, very, very chunky actually, you can see right there on the left side of the snail, he has what is called a mantle extension. Now, the mantle extension isn't exactly uncommon. It's kind of like a human being born with webbed toes. It's the quirk of their anatomy. Some snails can have it, 1 out of 20 or something like that. But it is a trait that can be passed on, and it is one that I wanted for our experiments. So how awesome is it that we found one of our own snails with this strange anatomy? But what I should mention here is that this individual with the mantle extension, it doesn't resemble any extension that I've ever seen. Typically with bladder snails, the extension will be a bit like a little fish fin or something. But with this guy, it is very thick, bulbous, almost like a blob. And it's going down the entire side of the snail on the shell there. I think that's really, really cool. So not only did we get that somewhat rare trait that we wanted, we got we have an individual with that trait showing at the extreme levels. So I don't think that those spikes, those tentacles there, I don't think that that is the mutation, not necessarily, but its shape and form, I do believe, is a mutation. One that will hopefully affect the germline of this snail, meaning that he can have offspring who will have the same strange morphology. after the video, you should definitely go and Google Bladder Snail Mantle extension. And you'll see a bunch of cool people on Reddit, people like us on there talking about bladder snails. And yeah, you should even drop a comment and say, hey, what about bucket ponds? He's got one of these. Something like that would be really cool. But wait till after the video. But yes, this big bulbous individual, this very chunky bladder snail, is showing an interesting mutation, and I'm wondering if his body, if his physical shape, may be also some form of mutation or deviation from the norm. They are snails, they don't have a skeleton in there. They can get real skinny or real chubby based on how they stretch or move. But this guy is very, very, very wide. More so than what I've seen. I've never seen a snail look quite like this. So, yeah. Now, a few of you have mentioned, oh, maybe these are different species of bladder snails. But yes, some of these mutations have unlocked unknown things in their genome. And I've seen a few of my snails begin to resemble other species. I think that's just a coincidence. I don't think that's like some new type of snail has appeared in my little pond. I think it's more or less some shared gene or something that allows them to kind of look like each other. That's my theory, anyway. So here we are on day 13. These are the same exact snails that I raise in my guppy tank, and they look nothing like their cousins. It's really strange. There's our chunky guy up there, and again, with the additional lighting, you see that he's not purple or gray or blue. He is midnight, ebony, and I think that's really, really cool. Not every snail in here shows the extremely dark coloration. Some of them are a bit lighter, and that's okay, Right now, I'm not doing any true selective breeding, because that would mean like I was removing like these individuals here that don't have the colors that we like. But for now, I don't want to do that. I want to preserve this bloodline. I want to get them settled. And just in case, something happens to that mutagen pond, or maybe I go out there and clean it out one day and get the trash out of it, I don't want to lose the ability to have our mutant snails. I want to keep them. And I mention this in every mutant snail video, but I used to joke about exposing our snails to mutagens or controlled UV radiation, different things like that, to improve them, to make them better, to make people in the aquarium hobby like them. And it's so cool. I'm so happy that it's kind of happened on its own, accidentally. So I don't know. I'm just a happy guy. I hope you guys are too. I'm hoping that we'll get some more interesting mutants out of this particular build, and I'll likely build a couple more of these to sort of capture the different bloodlines of bladder snails that I have on hand right now. Then moving forward, when we catch some wild individuals, we'll build another isolation jar, and so on and so forth. That's my plan, anyway. So this was kind of, call it the final prototype, because the first 3 jars were good, just a little too small. This one, I think we hit the sweet spot, and the snails seem to be doing very well in here. I've also been careful to avoid any ostracods getting into this project due to the aggressive attack on our snails in the previous mutant snail video. I hope that you guys watched. I'll include a link in the description for a playlist about all of these videos. And I'll include links to the Reddit pages where people are talking about, bladder snails with mutations and stuff. You'll see what I mean. I hope that you guys enjoyed the longer video. The community had asked for longer content. And honestly, guys, I want to do what you want. I have my own vision and ideas about the channel, but when it comes to like how the content is presented, I love hearing from you. So you can tell me like, hey, we want longer videos, or hey, maybe turn the brightness down, or whatever. Your feedback's important. So thank you. And I'm trying to provide. lately I've been really strapped for time, and it's okay. I'm living like 2 or 3 lives right now, and it's not stressful, but it is time consuming. I do my best. Oh, there we go. Okay, okay, there we go. Forgive me. With the longer videos, you're going to see a little rough cut like that here and there. But I'm feeding the jar now with their first slices of cucumber. These snails will not recognize the cucumber, but they're snails. It's a cucumber. I'm sure they'll realize that it is food. I've also been feeding them with fish food flakes, but they are really weird about them. They will let them sit and decay for a while, and then they'll go eat them up. So like a day or two later, it's really interesting, really odd. But I chalk that up to them just not having that food source for their entire life. So I have made a nice label for this project, Bloodline number 4, with the Mantle extension and Midnight coloration. And they are from the mutagen pond. So I want to track all of the information about them. In the near future, you guys, I want to go out wild collecting once again. I want to look for wild bladder snails. And here's the trick. I want to go to places that are known to be polluted and contaminated. And I want to see if we can find wild mutants. I'm sure we can. I know that we can. We just have to look for them. Now, again, you guys, don't do any of this at home. Don't expose your snails to any kind of radiation or anything crazy like that. Yeah, don't do any of that. But big thank you to my supporters on both Patreon and especially the YouTube members. You guys are awesome. Thank you to everyone who's watching the videos and keeping me going. I have a Buy Me a Coffee link now, and you can also subscribe to the channel or become a member if you really like what we do. Thank you.